Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. So I have been doing a lot of prototyping lately. What I started off doing earlier on was I was just creating whole scenes and then getting them into the engine and setting them up. And I kind of ran into a place where I realized I needed to do it kind of the opposite way with some of these interior shots, because I really needed to get my functionality down and know exactly what I wanted out of each room before I went and created the backgrounds. Because I didn't want to create and design interior backgrounds and then come back later and realize that they didn't really fit the functionality that I needed once I started fleshing out details of the room. And this is a really good case where I'm glad I did that, because I needed to design the rocket interior. And I don't really know. Well, I was just sort of throwing together this prototype, and for whatever reason, the first kind of image that entered my head is like the interior of a submarine. So I started, designing the rocket like the interior of a submarine's long, slender, design. And what you see here, of course, is just a really quick 10-minute Photoshop, if that, Photoshop throw together. Background, one of several that I just kind of whipped up really quick in a few minutes, just to kind of give an idea of what I would be building when I did the background. Now, what I realized, I'm actually I got it all I got it all kind of put together, and I got it testing just fine. It was functional. I'm driving down the road actually, and I'm thinking about my levels that I had recently mocked up. And it hit me that I was coming at this completely the wrong way. I want to be able to land this rocket. Well, not necessarily. Well, I want the idea to be that this rocket will land. That's the concept. That goes back to the 50s concept of the, even before that, 40s and 30s, of rockets landing on a planet, which is a little bit far-fetched, although it happens. We're actually experimenting now with landing rockets. But anyway, it's the concept. It's the retro concept. So what happens when you land a submarine on its end? Everything just falls to the back. It doesn't make any sense. So and then I got in my head the idea of the playground rocket. I think everybody around my age probably remembers some rocket, in every playground would have this big rocket that you would climb in, and it would have decks, and the decks were stacked, so that when the rocket was standing straight up, you could be standing in the rocket, and you just use one ladder to go down to all the different decks. That's what I needed to do. And then something actually occurred to me. I had a round room that I designed not to be as the interior of a rocket, a cylindrical rocket that would just be stacked decks like that, but just for a completely different purpose, just to kind of test out an interior of a ship. And I had been using it last year as just a test room. So I decided, okay, I'm going to adapt that, and this is what that looks like. Now, guys, I am giving you the raw look into designing this game, and showing you some of the pitfalls and the dumb ideas I get, and then I come back and I go, this is what I should have been doing. So and that's game design is messy sometimes. But okay, so this is these are a bunch of layers that I have going for this. And so, for instance, the engine room here is turned on. And oh no, that's not the engine room. This is the engine room. So this is that was the engine room layer turned on. This is just kind of the raw room, the way it looks. And I'll show it to you in all of its glory here. Okay, so that's kind of what it looks like when it's animating. Get this to where you can actually see the whole thing. Okay, so why am I animating a background for a template? Well, because I've found that the more detail I put into this temporary stuff, the more it informs my choices when I go to build the model. So the model that I build when I make this room for real is actually going to be pretty similar to this. There's a lot of ideas, a lot of things in this temporary mock-up that I really like, that I think I'm going to keep for the final room, kind of the the eventual final room that I'm going to have. And one of them is I like these beams in this kind of spider leg pattern going around the room. That's great. I like these blinking panels. I kind of like this concept of these kind of it looks like maybe a Star Trek TV series, old Star Trek TV series set. And that's part of the concept of the game is not what would we realistically be flying in today, but what did they assume this stuff was going to look like back in the 30s and 40s when they were looking, 50s, when they were looking ahead, half a century down the road, thinking, well, someday we're going to be flying around in space. And this is the kind of Art Deco look that prevailed in all of the artwork back then. And and it's also kind of reminiscent of Hollywood sets. Like, what would you do on a Hollywood set? Well, you would hang a sheet back there and throw some par cans, some gels on some par cans, and light up a bunch of colorful sheets in the background or something, and punch holes in the set, and get this kind of look. What is it? I don't know, but it's cool looking. And that's kind of the way those things were designed back then. And that's kind of, I want a little bit of that to seep into this game. At the same time, I want to introduce some of the gritty realism that we're used to from the kind of the Star Wars era, where we're used to these ships having a lived-in look and a realistic look, like this could actually be a ship that you climb into and go out in outer space. It doesn't look like it's freshly polished and Windexed. So this is kind of gives you an idea of what this mock-up screen looks like. And of course, there are several other elements to it here. There's this is the clean version, and then this is one version that kind of gives an airlock look to this wall, and some sleeping bags. Then there's a version where we can see an escape pod coming out. And of course, again, this is all very, very quick, dirty ideas that I will integrate into my set, because this is one of the next things I'm going to be working on, is building this area. So that's that, and there's a little hatch here that opens and closes, and then that gets into the engine room area. So all of these things have to be integrated into the game, and here I have my old room here that just doesn't work. So in order to change everything I've done, I need to come over here and let's say make this is going to be the living area, main living quarters. So that's going to be number 0. It's warning me, hey, this is a completely different size, it's going to change everything. Yes, it is. That's fine. So here's my new room. It's very different than what I had before, but everything's going to be functional. It's going to do the same thing, basically. So there was a hatch that was supposed to get down to the lower decks. Well, that hatch is going to be here now. So the hotspot's going to be this ladder. There was a door all the way to the right. There was actually an edge, a room edge, all the way to the right that would change rooms and take you to the cockpit. And here it is right here, actually. Well, I'm going to get rid of that. And we're not going to use that. We're actually going to use this, because the cockpit is now up here. So I'm gonna change that. That's no longer going to be a walk off the right edge action. And I'm gonna go ahead and kill it. And in fact, I'm gonna get rid of the whole action completely, and come over here. I have to do that here too, because it's gonna mess me up. So, and what I'm gonna do instead is have a hotspot. So I already have a few hotspots in here that I was using, but of course, because I reset everything, they went away. They're still in here. They just I'm gonna have to redraw them. That's okay. So let me start here. This empty hotspot. Let's see. Any click on? hotspot. Actually, I'm going to say interact with, and I'm going to paste this here. Now that's going to be climb up to cockpit. Okay, so that's what that particular hotspot's going to do. And I'm going to go and draw the hotspot real quick and dirty right here. And then, so if you click on the ladder anywhere kind of on the upper half of the ladder, ooh, that's actually more than half. Anywhere on the upper half of the ladder, you're gonna be climbing up to the upper deck. And then now there's another hotspot that went down to the lower deck. So lower deck hotspot. I'm going to draw one here that's going to be. I'm going to skip the middle there and say, okay, if you click on this ladder anywhere in the lower half, it's going to take you to the lower deck. Okay, and now I actually have to write an action that's going to have him walk over to it and then play an animation where he crawls down the ladder. I'm going to leave that out right now and just change rooms because, you know, I'm trying to get into the. I'm on the pass where I'm just getting the functionality down. I'll go back in and flesh out some details when I'm done. So, and then I've got a hot spot for his deck, Jack's rack. Okay, this is his sleeping rack, which we'll make this one. Actually, it's that, and then come down here. Okay, that's pretty good. So anywhere you click on this, actually, let me go ahead and refine it a little bit. That's some heavy metal Metroid in the background, by the way. Okay, so now that's gonna be Jack's bed rack, and then the only other thing I need to worry about here in this room, I believe, is the airlock. So let's go ahead and put the airlock control here, and that'll be the airlock control. Okay, so now when we start this level, all those functionalities that I built into before are back in. But they're just completely in different places and reshaped. And the only other thing I have to do now is create walkable areas, which you guys probably remember from some of my old videos. But basically, I just need to define an area that he can walk around. Now, it's important that I don't spend too much time with this kind of thing, because although I do want this to be totally playable, I don't need to refine it. I don't need to have it working perfectly. I don't need every little bit of functionality in there. I just need it to be working to a point where I can test it and get an idea of, you know, if it's working the way I want to. And like I said, the more detail I put in this, the better. So I do have to kind of find a balance, because the more detail I flesh out here in prototype, the more informed I am when I go to build the final models. And I'm already finding that in some of the environmental models, the exterior models that I've done, I'm going in and adding things, photographing new elements and changing things up, which is fine, because those are natural elements and it's easier to do that with. If I build the interior of a ship, I really want to get it right the first time. So I'm going to do my best to get all the details the way I want them, to get this game as playable as possible and as fully functional as possible with this temporary art. Then I'm going to go in and flesh things out with the models, build the background models, put those in. I'm pretty happy with how this looks right now. You know, I'm feeling pretty good about the way this looks now, and really this is just a prototype. So, and it's my second pass at the prototype. So, you know, there's the ability to go in and do my Photoshop version, and then this one, and then by the time I get to the model, I'll have fleshed out so many ideas. I'll know exactly where I want everything and what constraints I have to build the room within to get it there. So, yeah, I'm really happy with this process so far. I'm really happy with this step. I can't wait to take these rooms then to the physical level and start photographing the actual backgrounds for the final game. Anyway, all right. So this has been an incredibly candid peek at the inner workings of this game design, and I hope you enjoyed it. And I will try to show you some new stuff again as soon as possible. Thanks.